Cooler Master's SF series fans feature addressable RGB LEDs and a square design to maximize fan mount coverage and generate high pressure airflow. Available in standard 120mm size as the SF120P, as well as the dual fan 240mm option in the SF240P ARGB. Cooler Master has integrated multiple layers of noise reduction technology and an optimized fan blade design into this series, so click the sponsor link in the description to learn more.
Excellent!
What's up guys, welcome back to Paul's Hardware. This is my monthly builds video for July 2019, and this is an exciting month. Actually July 7th is the date that a lot of people have been waiting for because that's when AMD's new CPUs and new GPUs launch. We're still a couple days before that, so some of the stuff I'm talking about today is a little bit forward looking. You should definitely wait a couple days until independent reviews come out and check those out to reality check before you invest in any of the builds I'm going to talk about today. But I'm getting ahead of myself. If you're going to build a computer, you need to figure out what parts to put in it. That is what this monthly series is all about. I part out 2 builds at least every month, and then I typically build one of them during the month, so stay tuned, subscribe if you're not already, if you want to see me put at least one of these systems together. If you're looking for builds today, check out my builds playlist where I have plenty of builds available, and if you're not familiar with how to build a computer in general, then check out my How to Build a Gaming PC Beginner's Guide playlist, because there's quite a few different guides in there that will walk you through the steps. Today's builds are based on your feedback from last month, so check out the video description if you want to vote for next month's builds. But we're doing a bang for the buck Zen 2 build based on the Ryzen 3600, and we're doing a max Zen 2 build based on the 3900X. I went for like a reasonable max, not like all out max. I might do a maximum build maybe next month, but for next month, definitely vote. You can see the different options that I've put for you guys there, and that link is down in the video's description. Let's get into it with the first build for this month, which is going to come in at about $900. I'm using PC Part Picker for these build lists, by the way, and they will be linked in the description. And again, you're going to see some warnings here because I'm forward-looking. Some of these parts aren't out yet, specifically the Ryzen 3000 series stuff. And then when it comes to graphics cards, I'm using NVIDIA graphics cards for both of these builds. But definitely keep your eye on the new Navi-based cards that are also launching on Sunday, the RX 5700 and RX 5700 XT. And we have the rest of the parts here. I'm going to go over these one at a time, but there's the full list for you, starting off, of course, with the Ryzen 5 3600, much anticipated 6-core, 12-thread processor with 3rd gen Ryzen. I don't know the performance really yet, but it's going to cost $200 for 6 cores and 12 threads. Yes, you can currently get 1st or 2nd gen Ryzen 6 cores for less than that, but I'm anticipating that the performance here is going to justify spending a little bit more for the 3rd gen parts, especially if you're building a gaming PC. Pairing this up with a B450 motherboard rather than X570 for this more budget-oriented build, the main thing you're giving up here by going with B450 is PCI Express Gen 4. So the really fast NVMe SSDs that are about to launch, you won't be able to take full advantage of their speed, but honestly, for a gaming PC, you really do not need that. Just keep in mind, if you want PCI Express Gen 4, you're going to need to invest in an X570 series motherboard, and my second build does use one of those. This is down to $100 over on Amazon though right now, which is nice because I felt like the price was creeping up on this board because it is a fairly popular one with Ryzen builds, even the existing 1st and 2nd gen Ryzen builds, because it has good power delivery. You should be able to overclock even a 12 core. Don't quote me on that quite yet because we need to test it independently, but you should be able to do a decent amount of overclocking with this board, and other than that, it's got everything you need to get up and running. For memory, the sweet spot for Ryzen is DDR4 3600, at least according to what AMD tells us, but I don't think they'd lie to us about something like that right out of the gates. So what I've done here is a parametric filter on PC Part Picker for DDR4 3600 speed memory, and then the kit size we want is a 2x8 gig stick kit. Ran that search, sorted by price, and it is just dropping in the cheapest memory kit that aligns with those specifications, which is only $70. It is a G.Skill Sniper X kit though, available on Newegg, so this must be on sale because it is fairly not that great looking. I guess this is supposed to match up with the Tough series motherboards. Now what your memory looks like is a lot less important than the speed and capacity of the memory, so this is available for 4 more days. If that ends, you should also keep an eye on the other kits on this list, and then definitely, like I said, keep an eye out on the launch day reviews, and especially people who are doing memory testing, because AMD has been a lot more confident about memory compatibility with 3rd gen Ryzen, but there is still a chance that some kits might play nicer than others, so that is something again to keep an eye out for. For For storage, I just went with a 500 gig class SATA SSD. This is the ADATA SU655, which is available on Amazon for about $48. There's others available in this price range. I do recommend sticking to brands that you maybe have heard of before. There are even some NVMe SSDs like the Intel 660p that come down in this range that can be fairly competitively priced too. So keep an eye on those, and you should be able to find a 500 gig SATA SSD for about $45 to $50. Moving on, we have a graphics card, and for that I went with the RTX 2060, which is maintaining its current price even with the launch of the super cards at $350, but you can find these on sale for even a little bit less. I went with this Zotac gaming card because it actually has a decent cooler. It is well reviewed. Some of the more entry-level RTX 2060s can be pretty underbuilt, but this one is a solid choice, so consider that. But again, also consider the Radeon RX 5000 series cards that are coming out, the 5700 and 5700 XT, because we don't have benchmarks for those yet, and you want to at least cross-compare that against the 2060. I think for now this will be a good choice, but I'm just repeating myself in this video because I don't often recommend parts that aren't quite out yet. But two more days we have to wait, and then we can figure all that stuff out. Moving on though, for a case, we have the Fantex Eclipse P350X, which has a really nice feature set for a case, and it's only about $60, available for $60 on Newegg. So consider that. Any case in the $60 to $70 range that matches your aesthetic tastes, has decent reviews, and has the features you're looking for, like the same size motherboard and everything, you'll probably be okay with, but I've worked with the P350X before. It's a good case. Finally, we need a power supply. I went with the 650 watt and went with 80 plus bronze, and I made sure it was all black cables. That's what you need to look for. I also recommend going for a reputable brand, such as Corsair, EVGA, Seasonic, Cooler Master, and then if you can get modularity, that is convenient, although it is not absolutely necessary. This one is not modular, for example, but it does still have all black cables, so you make sure that you don't have any nasty cable colors standing out in your build. All that comes together for, again, just under $900. This was actually more expensive when I first put it together last night, but there was that price break on the motherboard that brought it down a bit. So for $900, this build is absolutely going to destroy games and also have a pretty good chance at doing well for gaming and streaming or any compute-related tasks, because you do have 6 cores and 12 threads on the processor. I'm excited to see the performance of builds like this now that we have this new launch coming out. But let's move on to our second build for this month, which is the $1,650 gaming PC, a bit more all-out, a bit more high-end. This one's using the Ryzen 3900X, and I paired it up with an RTX 2070 Super, since we now have better prices on better performing RTX 2070 cards with the launch of the Super. But looking at the total price here, I'm actually a little bit over my $1,650 budget. $1,662.85 is what it's coming out to, but let's run down the parts. 3900X, 12 cores, 24 threads on the mainstream platform. Really excited to share some performance benchmark numbers with you guys on this very soon. Again, that'll be out on Sunday. I have been testing this, but I can't tell you about it yet, just that you should be excited. It's fun. The Kraken X62 is one of the better ones on the market. This is the second revision of it. It does cost about $140. So yes, you could get away with the cooler that comes in the box or save some money on a cooler, but I wanted to give it a lot of cooling. So that's why I went with that. Anyway, for a motherboard, we have the Asus TUF Gaming X570 Plus. We don't have official pricing on the motherboards yet, although a lot of them have had some details and pictures and breakdowns and unboxings that have already been posted. I chose this motherboard because I wanted to reiterate and confirm with you guys, not all of the X570 motherboards are like upwards of $300. There's some really expensive, super overbuilt ones out there, but you don't need to spend that much to get X570. Case in point, this one, I don't know the official price for. I've estimated about $175. All I know for sure is it's going to be sub $200. But going with something like this, you are going to get PCI Express 4.0 support, and then a lot of these are going to have pretty much the same base characteristics when it comes to having a few M.2 slots available, 4 DIMM slots so you can populate all your memory. You might miss out on a few things, such as a front panel USB 3.1 Gen 2 port, but this board, even, at least from the look of it, has solid power delivery. Again, it's pretty early to say for sure, but I wanted to get this build going without going too crazy over budget, and like the other motherboard that I have available, I think is going to be well over $300, so I thought this one would be a bit more reasonable choice. For memory, again, I have a 2x8 gig DDR4 3600 memory kit. I didn't use the parametric filter this time. I specifically chose a Vengeance LPX kit because they're not too overpriced right now, only about $92 on Newegg for the 3600 speed kit. This one it's low profile, so it matches up with a lot of coolers. Granted, I chose an all-in-one for this build, so that doesn't make as much sense, but it blends in. It doesn't stand out. It's all black, so there you go. And the memory speed, again, is the more important thing. I wanted a faster 1 terabyte SSD for our operating system drive for this build, and you can still get these 1 terabyte drives for like right around $100. You can get them for just under $100, but I wanted one that was actually going to be decently fast. This isn't the fastest of the NVMe SSDs that are available, but it should give you upwards of 2,000 megabytes per second reads and around 1,500 megabytes per second writes, and that is a significant bump up over your standard SATA SSDs. For a graphics card, I went with the RTX 2070 Super. I chose the Founders Edition because that's the only one I've confirmed right now. It's only going to be $500. Bear in mind that there are a lot of already developed overbuilt RTX 2070 GPUs that manufacturers are just going to take the existing design for and put it on an RTX 2070 Super. So there's going to be a bunch of these coming out really soon with third-party manufacturer designs that have, you know, better built coolers and everything like that. So keep an eye out for those. I just want to point out that the age of the RTX 2070 nice cards being $600 should be over, because the base price for the Founders Edition is $500, and you really shouldn't be spending too much more than that. So $500 to $550, I think, is what you should spend for an RTX 2070 Super. And yes, that is a price drop if you're comparing it to what we were seeing with the RTX 2070 originally, especially, like I said, the fancier versions of the cards that were more overbuilt. And lastly, we have case and power supply. Just went with the NZXT H500 for this one. It's only about $70. This is a very well-reviewed case, kind of following a series of good mid-tier cases from NZXT. They actually have an H510 that I'm going to be working with fairly soon that they just showed off at Computex. So that's kind of exciting, and I will go into more on that once I get to that point. But about 70 to 80 bucks, you can get a really decent case these days. For this price range, you might spend a little bit more, like 100. But you know, this one did everything I needed it to do, and it was only 70. So that's why I went with that. Finally, power supply, pretty much the same requirements as I did for the $900 build, just bumped the wattage up to 750 watts, bumped the 80 plus certification up to gold, and then this one is also a fully modular power supply. It's only $80 for the Cooler Master NWE. This is a new series that they've kind of recently just launched. It's a solid power supply, and again, all black cabling. So once again, you guys, there's a lot of stuff that I can't quite tell you just yet. But just give me a couple days, Sunday, probably Sunday and maybe Monday too. I have a few videos I'm working on, because this right here, it might be what you guys are all looking for. The new Ryzen 3000 series CPUs. Or maybe this is an old Ryzen CPU. I can't even tell you that for sure. I mean, I could, but then AMD would get mad at me or something. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video though. Again, the links to all the parts I chose out are down in the video's description, so thanks for clicking those and checking it out. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. Stay tuned. Sunday, more videos coming out with Ryzen 3000 benchmarks, Navi benchmarks. It's gonna be epic. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.